What is up, everyone? I'm Ryan from Fireside Yankees, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at 3 veteran starters who could fit the budget where the Yankees are going to be sitting at for pitchers, because the Yankees' primary goal this offseason is going to be to bring back Judge and to reload this lineup and to revamp this lineup, because this lineup is the reason why they didn't win in the postseason. The Astros exploited them, and the Astros got the Yankees to look rather foolish on the national stage at the plate. And so this team needs to be able to hit better because, quite frankly, that's been their undoing in a lot of recent postseason games and a lot of postseason matchups. But with that being said, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Check out Fireside Yankees on TikTok, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And of course, you guys can check us out at Empire Sports Media for all your New York sports content. We got a ton of stuff going on there. And without further ado, let's get started talking about Jose Quintana first, who fits the bill as the lowest budget option on this list. Jose Quintana is a guy who had a 2.93 ERA last year and a 2.99 FIP. And while a lot of people would say, how can the guy with the best ERA and FIP in 2022 out of the 3 pitchers on this list be the guy who's the lowest budget option? And that's because he's a little more advanced in his age. And on top of that, Quintana is someone who is not, a stuff first guy. He's a command first guy. And while we can say that command is something that, it's an art form, there's, it is something veterans can do very well if they've mastered that craft. Stuff is a lot more stable than command. Year to year, stuff seems to correlate a lot better than command does. So in any given season, the pitcher's command could be a little bit off in a couple of over a couple of weeks, and that could ruin their overall season stats. Quintana just didn't seem to falter in his command all season. It seemed to improve with the Cardinals, who have one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in all of baseball. And he excelled over there. He was someone who finished, 9th in FIP, 16th in ERA. He finished with a 4+ wins above replacement, which is remarkable. And I do look at Quintana as, that veteran lefty that if the Yankees, can give about 10, 12, 13, $14 million a year over the next 2 to 3 years, could get a really nice 4 or 5 starter and stabilize the back end of the rotation. The issue here is more so the lack of upside. Quintana's not going to be much better than a high 3 ERA starter. And when you know that, you're paying for, that value. You're not paying for the value he gave in the 2022 season. So you have to adjust accordingly. But if there's a team that's going to be willing to pay him, factoring what he did in 2022 and not just looking at it as, okay, the ground ball rate was high, the strikeout to walk rate was all right. That's kind of the pitcher he is. And there's a team that views the ERA a little bit too much and gets too caught up in the results he gave and are too desperate for pitching. They could blow other teams out the water. And that's not the team the Yankees are right now. The Yankees do not need Jose Quintana more than other teams do. So if he falls into their lap, that's great. But again, this isn't someone the Yankees should be breaking the bank for necessarily. He just kind of fits in as that good veteran, low-cost option the Yankees could be picking up who, has a good ground ball rate, doesn't walk a lot of guys, and, could slot into a bullpen role in the postseason or eat innings if need be. And then the next guy we're going to be looking at is Nathan Eovaldi, who slots in the middle in terms of market value here. He's coming off an injury-prone season where he had a 109 ERA plus and a 3.55 Sierra. His strikeout were down from 2021. His walks are around the same. His ground balls are still pretty good. The home run to 9 rate climbed from 0.74 to 1.73, which is not great. But the stuff is still pretty good, even with declining velocity after an injury. He still is around the 110 to 111 stuff plus guy, which means his stuff is 10 to 11% better than the league average pitcher, which is really good. And that's due to great secondaries. His splitter and his curveball are really good. The splitter finished top 5 in run value and had a 197 WOBA against. And the curveball had an over 30% whiff rate and a 253 WOBA against. Now, WOBA is weighted on base average. That's a metric that you scale it like on base percentage. And the only difference between OBP and WOBA is that WOBA has it factors, it values singles, doubles, triples, home runs, all differently. Home runs are obviously more valuable in a way as such, instead of like with OBP, where if you hit a home run or you hit a single, it increases your OBP the same amount. So WOBA is a very good all-encompassing offensive metric. And so, Eovaldi's curveball and splitter performed very well. The slider regressed heavily this year. And I point that to his fastball not performing as well, right? We've talked about stuff plus a lot on this channel. We've talked about, the importance of velocity and movement and all these things, and stuff tends to correlate a lot better year to year because guys typically don't tend to fall off too crazy unless they reach an advanced age. And then at that point, you can realistically point to some regression there. But he has a 118.1 stuff plus on his slider. That's the third best pitch in his arsenal behind the curveball and the splitter. But if you look at it when you do not factor his fastball into the equation, it's at a 97.1 stuff plus. And while the curveball also has that same issue, going from a 121 91.2 to a 95.5. The command is a lot better on his curveball. 106.9 command plus versus, or location plus, where the slider's at 103 for his location plus. So the curveball usually gets commanded a lot better. And he also uses the curveball a little bit less. The splitter's kind of that primary weapon versus lefties. So the slider is a pitch that had a 107.7 pitching plus. So don't get me wrong, it's still a very good pitch. But it's a pitch that can be better as the fastball is better, right? So if the fastball velocity goes from, low, 94, 94.3, kind of where it was in those last 9 starts, to like a 95, 96, that slight uptick in velocity, a slight uptick in stuff on the fastball could help his slider, improve a little bit and get better results. I do believe that this is a very good bounce back candidate. Eovaldi's pitched in the American League East. He's pitched at Yankee Stadium. He's pitched at Fenway. He's pitched in the postseason in big spots. He's done very well. He's a World Series champion. He's a decorated veteran in the postseason. He's coming into his age 33 season. He's not too old, but he's also not a really young guy. So you're not looking at this guy and saying, here, take a bunch of years. But he is a guy with a 3.14 ERA in the postseason. And you know what? That's extremely valuable. That's a guy who just knows how to get it done in those moments. His stuff seems to translate very well into the postseason. And again, I do think there are some velocity concerns that we can point out and say, hey, I don't know how this is going to translate into next season. But what I can say is that it doesn't have to be as good as it was in 2021. He doesn't have to be 2021, 2020 Nate Eovaldi, who was a guy who was, one of the 20 or so best pitchers in baseball. But you know what? If he's a top 30, top 35 starter and you're putting him as your 4 or your 5 for next season, either ahead of or behind Montas, you're feeling really good about your rotation. So I look at Eovaldi as a good option to get a lot of upside. Don't pay him too much. There's some injury risk there, but you have good depth in Herman and Schmidt. And then looking at the top option, that veteran market, Chris Bassitt, right? He's a high volume arm, has a 3.13 ERA since 2020. This is a guy who uses a wide array of pitches. It's the fastball, the sinker, the cutter, the curveball, the slider, the changeup, and he will manipulate the spin on all those pitches to get different results. He's a really smart, savvy veteran pitcher, and I think this is the type of guy that is going to get the big bucks. But if his market somewhat falters or he doesn't go beyond 3 or 4 years on his deal, maybe the Yankees could be involved in that market. I look at it, Chris Bassitt the same way I look at Quintana, in the sense where I think those are both guys the Yankees should let fall to them. I think they should pursue Eovaldi heavily, just because I do think he kind of fits that profile of buy low and then get a lot of value out of that. I don't think Bassitt and Quintana are sneaky guys. I think, the market kind of is aware of them, and there's no question marks as to whether teams are going to be willing to bid for their services. Whereas for Eovaldi, there are a lot of questions about the velocity. So, I look at Bassitt and Quintana as proven products. Proven products are going to be guys who are going to be costing more or are going to, have more competition, because quite frankly, a proven commodity at the starting pitching, in the starting pitching front is really valuable, right? Teams are looking for reliable, dependable starting pitching that they can count on opening day and then count on in October to get them meaningful outs. So Bassitt is someone I look at. You can put him as your 3, you can put him as your 4, and you have one of the better 3 or 4s in baseball. Gonna give you 30 starts, gonna provide you a low ERA, gonna do a lot of different things very well, not gonna walk the ballpark, gonna get a decent amount of strikeouts, gonna keep the ball on the ground. This is a guy who just does a lot of things very well, and to me at least, profiles as one of the better starting pitchers in baseball and one of the most reliable arms in the sport. So I definitely do think the Yankees should at least be calling his agent, calling Chris Bassitt, just seeing what his market looks like, because the Yankees don't necessarily need Chris Bassitt, but having him in a rotation with Garrett Cole and Luis Severino and Nestor Cortez and Frankie Montas, I mean, that's how the Astros won it all, right? They have this super rotation: Justin Verlander, Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers Jr., Christian Javier, Luis Garcia, Hunter Brown, Jose Urquidy. These are really, really, really good arms, and a lot of those guys developed internally. But if you can't develop internally, use your money and go out and bring in some of these guys externally. You know what I mean? The Yankees don't have to do everything exactly how the Astros do it, but there is a proven model of success, and that is, if you have a lot of very good pitching, you can do very well in October, even if your lineup slumps, even if you have injuries to your lineup. They didn't have Michael Brantley. Yuli Gurriel got injured and struggled all season. You're going to have injuries to your team. If you have really good pitching and they stay healthy, you're going to have a really good chance in the postseason to shut teams down and win those 3-2, 1-0, 2-1 games. Those really close, tight-knit games that ultimately decide the postseason every single year. With that being said, though, let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys think I overlooked on this market? I know a lot of people are going to point out Carlos Rodon or Justin Verlander or Jacob deGrom, and I'm just saying those weren't the guys I was necessarily looking at in terms of this video. I do think that those are 3 very amazing pitchers, and I do think Rodon is someone the Yankees should at least look at. But again, offense is going to be the Yankees' focus this offseason, so looking to kind of buy low on pitchers may be their route. Again, The Yankees are going to be looking to bring back Judge, going to be looking to revamp the lineup, hopefully bring back a guy like Rizzo, see what they're doing in left field. Those are all going to be things that they'll be doing as they try to look at the pitching market. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. What veteran guys, what overlooked pitchers, which guys do I got to look at? Which guys do you guys think are good fits for this team? And which of these three guys interest you the most? We appreciate your guys' continued support, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Ryan, out.